Hello and welcome to our midweek conversation here at First Baptist Church. My name is T. Hamilton. I'm the pastor here at First Baptist Sweetwater, and I have a special friend here with me today. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Jeline Franson, or Evangeline.
Evangeline Franson.
Yeah.
From Kansas City right now.
Yes.
And I'm just going to get out of the way now. You root for who? Football.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs, okay.
Yeah.
Which really, the Chiefs have won more Super Bowls in the last decade than Dallas has in like the last 3.
Yeah.
So there was no offense taken when we heard that earlier.
I think you're putting me in trouble here.
I'm not getting you in trouble. I'm the one that's going to have to live with them after
Okay,
this, so it's all right. We're good.
I don't live here. I'm good.
No, but we're so thankful to have you this week, and thank you for doing this podcast with us.
Thank you.
You're touring right now with Operation Christmas Child, which is a ministry that is very close to our heart here at First Baptist Church. Several years ago, we became a drop-off center, a relay center, and it's just been a great joy for us to be a part of that. And then when we found out you were coming to town, we got really excited, and they said,
awesome.
would you like to be there? We're like, yes, we want to serve lunch.
Thank you.
And so thank you for being here with us, and thank you for doing this podcast with me today.
Thank you so much.
So you want to tell just a little bit about your story, just for a couple minutes of growing up in the Philippines and then moving over here?
Yes. I grew up in Cebu, Philippines. I received a shoebox gift as a 13-year-old girl who grew up in a dump site. So,
part of the story you told that was really touching today was that you almost didn't get a gift.
Yes.
Because you're tall.
Yes.
For a
Filipino.
Filipino. I just want to say it right. I don't want to insult a Filipino lady. And so you're tall, and so you almost didn't get one as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, so I'm tall for a 13-year-old Filipino at that moment. Most Filipinos, please don't hate me for my Filipino community. But most Filipinos, very tiny, very petite, and for some reason, God gave me a height that's not normal for Filipinos. So when Operation Christmas Child came to my neighborhood, I was chosen not to receive a gift, but God chose me to receive the gift at the end, and it was so incredible. So yeah, that
was cool, just hearing how you were talking to God the whole time, and you'd already become a Christian. You'd gone to youth camp, but that just kind of solidified that relationship for you. Is what you
said. It was the same year I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, and that December, Operation Christmas Child came to my neighborhood, and I received the shoebox gift, and yes, it really solidified my relationship with my Heavenly Father. And my dad and I, we used to have this father-daughter relationship, and when he became a drug addict and alcoholic, obviously that relationship disappeared. And when I accepted Christ, there's the void in my heart that I knew right then that someone loved me, and someone cared for me, and the shoebox gift was a gift from him, because when I was handing out the shoebox to the other children, because they asked me, not only they told me I don't get to receive the gift, I was also asked to help them distribute the shoeboxes to the kids. So while I was doing that, I was praying to God that, hopefully I can get one. And so I think it was a little, my little heart at that time was like praying and hoping. But then when I received the shoebox gift, I realized that prayer do work. And so, I just got saved that year, and I prayed, and my prayers answered right away. So it was really neat. Yeah.
Well, and I've been a youth minister for a long time now. I'm pastor. Knowing your heart, as you told the story as a 13-year-old girl, your heart is service. Like you were serving at a church before you were even a Christian. You were helping cut up food and chop food and serve food to kids. Sometimes you wouldn't necessarily get to get anything. And then they tell you can't get a gift because they think you're too old. And then they say, but will you help hand them out? And so as a 13-year-old kid, you're having to give away the gifts that originally should have been for you.
Yes.
But you still did it. I mean, just hearing your heart of service through your testimony today was amazing. I'm so thankful for hearing that today. So
thank you.
That was really cool. About how many kids, as you think back, were at that gathering where they handed them out? Do you remember? I mean, you were 13. So.
I would say 100, 150 to 200. I mean, I could not give you the exact numbers, but I would say more or less than 200. And that was the numbers of children that we feed every single Saturday.
Wow.
Too. And so I'm thankful for the pastor who started that church in the campsite, because not only we were able to meet the children's needs, even if it's just once a week, but we were able to spread the gospel to them, and when I became the youth leader in that church, it was a tremendous kind of like Facebook wasn't around at the time.
Right.
And so that was like the source of activity in that community. So we would do Bible studies, we would do like a Sunday service in one of the parks in the day, in the area. And so we would meet the youth, and even like reaching out the youth in the other community that would go to that park every Sunday night. That was really cool. And that's why I said earlier on my testimony that I'm so thankful for them to start the church there, because I met my pastor who mentored me throughout these years, and I still have a great relationship with him. He's my dad. He's really my dad. And so, I meet amazing people who along the way helped me to be who I am right now. And
Yeah, so just hearing your story of talking about your relationship with your pastor and how he mentored you, you said that you weren't the only one that he got to do, that y'all have several friends that you grew up with that are, in essence, missionaries around the world.
Yeah, the group of the youth that he mentored before, when I became a youth leader, some of us, one of us in Cambodia now, one of us in Vietnam, and I'm here. And he's so proud, but also, I don't know, I think he was praying for us, and I know he did, that when we become an adult that we would impact the world. And I do not think he realized the work that he put on us throughout the years. And I hope he realized how impactful it is for us to be able to be mentored by him and to be able to really see of who he is in Christ. And for me personally, not having a good relationship with my biological father at that moment, and for him to be that person for me, is such a big deal. And so thank you, pastors, for being a
I'm still a rookie pastor. So you talked about in your testimony about the glitter folder that you got in your box. Do you remember any of the other, you said also art supplies or school supplies.
School supplies.
Any other, someone asked what were other items that were in your box, do you remember?
That was the amazing thing about that box. It was literally school supplies.
Really?
It's literally like school supplies. There were notebooks, there were pencils, there were crayons. The pink glitter notebook, I think the family who packed that shoe bag really just add the pink glitter notebook, because they probably thought that there's nothing really fun in this box. And they add the pink glitter notebook, which happened to be my favorite. But just school supplies.
And you said you got to go to school because of that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because I think sometimes when we pack shoe boxes, we think, oh, well, there's colors or stuff like that, and you don't think much about it. But those are impactful. And I love that when you said it smelled like Irish Spring soap.
Yes.
I was like, I love the smell of Irish Spring, so I get it.
Yeah.
And now, so I already told you ahead of time that I already got a little emotional downstairs when you were talking about things. So I'm just going to apologize ahead of time if these next two questions go anywhere. For me, it's allergies. I'm sure that's what it is. But you talked about how you were the first Christian in your entire family, but now your family back home is Christians, your family here in Kansas City are Christians. Just talk about how that's been your first mission field was your family.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. I think this is your thing to do.
I'm not trying to do this to you.
So after I received the Lord, became a youth leader in my church, I just remember just loving the church. And as a teenager at that time, that was my life. I go to church. Mom, growing up, she was very strict. I have to finish my chores at home before I go to church. So I do the laundry, I clean the house, I would go to church and bring my 2 younger siblings with me because somebody had to do it. And so I always make sure that we have cooked rice because that's, every meal in a Filipino home. We have cooked rice, the laundry is folded, the dishes are washed and all that. And so, but my mom's still not happy with me. That I change religion. That's what she keeps saying. It was really rough. I wish I could say that it was so easy being the first Christian in my family. I remember my mom would throw my clothes outside her house because she would say that then just live in church,
right?
Because that's your life anyway. And it was not good. It was not fun, And I was a teenager, and trying to be a teenager at that age, I don't know. I felt like my teenager is different from the typical teenager's life. We were poor. Dad wasn't around. And then I started loving the Lord. So the things that the normal teenager would do right now, like hanging out somewhere or doing some fun things, I did not experience that.
Right.
Mine was home church school, or serving in a missionary event. And that was my entire childhood as a teenager. When my younger siblings received the Lord and my cousins, I think we were the missionaries in our family. And that led to have my aunts and uncles receiving the Lord as well. But it was hard for me because I was the second oldest cousin in the family. So my mom is the second eldest.
Okay.
In a family of 7 siblings. But their oldest brother, he lived in a different island. But the rest of the siblings, we were kind of like in a complex.
Okay.
So everybody get to hang out and everybody grew up together. But I am the second oldest among the cousins.
Wow.
So I would go to this feeding program and they'd come with me.
So you were literally bringing them to church.
Yeah, so that's how it started.
Yeah.
And when I received the Lord, they all came with me to the church. And some of them, they started doing the youth ministry with me. And then the way it happened, my aunts and uncles started going to church because of their kids, my cousins.
That's
cool. It was really hard because my mom, up to this day, my mom is not saved yet, and my dad. The rest of the family members, thankfully, they're all saved. And it was hard, you know, when you're the first Christian in the family and people laughed at you and question you, why do you go to Bible study? Why do you always in church? Like my mom would say, so you want to live there? And so that's how she would throw my clothes outside our house.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I'm so thankful that I stuck to it and persisted. Because when I moved here in the States, I met my husband in Kansas City, and he grew up in a church. But he shared to me that as he went to college and become an adult, he did not have a personal relationship with Christ. He just go to church growing up because his mom take him to church.
Right.
And so when I first met him, I told him, I'm like, this will not work if you and I have different beliefs, and if you don't believe in God. I wasn't forcing him, but I was married before to a non-believer, and the marriage did not work. And so my pastor's wife back home have this huge list. She was like, you have to have this list when you marry a person. And the number one on the list should be a believer of Christ. And my husband now, he got everything except
the number one.
The number one. So I told him, I really like you, but this will not work. And so I invited him to church, and you know how some pastors or some churches did invite people to come to Christ at the end of the service. Well, our pastor back in Kansas City, Pastor Tim, he always invite people to come to Christ, to know the Lord at the end of the service, and everybody would bow their heads. So I had no idea that my husband, one of the people that raised their hand,
That's cool.
till we decided to go home to the Philippines. The first time I brought him, and he was like, I want to get baptized in the Philippines.
That's cool.
And I look at him, I'm like, no. I mean, you're not safe yet. Why would you not get why would you like to baptize? And he's like, I accepted Christ. I'm like, you never told me this. It's like, I raised my hand. I don't remember how many months this was already. But I was like, okay. Like, you know, it was a happy moment for me. But I just love how he wasn't pressured by what I said before that. Like, you need to, you know, you go to church with me. So anyway, as the first Christian in my family, it was hard. I'm not going to lie. There's not going to be like, oh, it's easy and it's amazing. No, it was hard. It was, sadly, I think, probably one of the reasons that Mom and I's relationship, even up to this day, I'm pretty open. Like, I'm not doing well because of that reason.
I did like what you said on Sarah, talking about that you know that God's with you. And you weren't even talking about it in that context, but just seeing how you had that strength to do that, it's because God was with you, because God walked in your prayer life. I mean, just, it's amazing to see God's work through you and walking with you over the years. And now you got 2 beautiful daughters you said pictures of. And what's your husband's name?
Anders.
Anders? Okay, so I'm on his side. I forget to tell Stacy things all the time. So I understand he forgot to tell you. I get it. I'm on his side on that one.
Yeah.
But that's just really cool. I'm glad that they allowed you to get away for a little bit to be able to do this tour. Now, the last question that I wanted to ask you was actually brought to us by the one who normally podcasts with me, her son, Sawyer. He just got baptized, and he wants to know what your experience of baptism was. You told about your husband's baptism because I had to get somebody taller to do it because it was high tide. But just your experience of baptism and how that was special to you.
So when I received the Lord, I think it was a couple years after that I decided to get baptized. And it was actually on my pastor's birthday.
Oh, that's cool. I understand.
I think the church decided to do kind of like an, I don't know how do you guys call it here, kind of like a party, like just a church party.
Like a fellowship, yeah.
A fellowship, yeah, something like that. But we're going to go to a beach. Some of our members in the church, I know that they were planning to get baptized already. But at that time, I don't think I was planning to get baptized.
Right.
I was just, you know, we were there and we were hanging out, and then I just remembered that it was like a really nice day and everybody's like, you know, having fun. And my pastor, he did like a little speech right before they get on the water. And I remember him saying that loving God is not easy, but as a way to love God as a believer of Jesus, it is easy for us to say, that we love God. But he said on that context, he said, how do you prove that you love God?
How do you show? Yeah.
So it got me. And I don't think if it was intentional for him to say that. But when he said that, I was like, yeah, how do I prove that I love God? You know, I know I was serving at that time. I know I love going to church. I know that I just like what I do for the ministry. But then when he said that, how do you how do you show the world that you love God? And so he said, baptism is that way. So they were heading to the water, and I was still contemplating. And I find myself walking in the water with them. And I think they were so surprised to see me there. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I want to get baptized.
Showing the world I love God.
Yeah, and that's how my baptism. It wasn't planned.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to plan to get baptized this day. It wasn't.
That is, see it, I thought I was the one going to get all emotional.
No, you're trying to get me.
I tell the people at our church, the people I'm closest to all the time, that the two probably most impactful times for me in worship are baptism and communion. I love seeing the body of Christ take communion together.
Yeah.
And that's truly a holy moment for me. And then baptism. And I would rather see family members and friends baptized than me any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because it's such a special moment. But I always look at those moments when I get to baptize, when someone says, I want you to. We always ask the question, who do you want to baptize you? And it can be anybody.
Yeah.
Getting baptized is just such a blessing for me. And so I know your pastor it looks back on that fondly now, I'm sure. I've never gotten to baptize at a beach. You showed some of the pictures of those beautiful palm trees and everything. I've never gotten to do that yet. So now I'm going to put that on my list of where I need to baptize that.
You should.
But it is impactful. And then Stacy, my wife, got to baptize one of the girls, just because she'd done so much in their life that she got to baptize her.
Yeah.
It's such a great and holy moment. And so I understand why you're emotional. I'm emotional too, because those two places are where I feel closest to God in my own ministry and my walk with God. You just feel his closeness in those moments. And so I totally get it.
Yeah, and God really showed his love to us in so many ways. And to me, it's a public declaration. That's mostly the meaning to it. I mean, people would say that. Right. But to me, it's like public declaration of your love to God. Like, I love God, and my husband baptized my girls together in our church in Kansas City.
That's cool.
And they should have seen my face. I was like, if I'm emotional now, that day it was Easter Sunday too, and so
even better.
It was it was so emotional for me specifically, because to your question earlier, how does it feel to being a first Christian in a family and seeing my daughter get baptized together by my husband? Had I quit and listened to the things I heard before when I first started serving God, I would not be able to see the amazing and beautiful picture of my girls being baptized together with my husband.
That's so cool.
And I literally told myself, I know it's all the grace of God and God's love and faithfulness, but I did pat my shoulder a little bit, like, good job for not quitting.
Most definitely.
Through all these years of, tears and crying and, listening to the words that you heard growing up, and even up to this day, that why are you serving God? Why are you doing this? Even traveling for OCC, like you're away from your family and all that. But, that I always go back to that moment of the girls got baptized together. I'm like, no, it's so much worth it. Like, I would do it. I would go back to my childhood and experience the hardship again, just so I could see the picture of my daughters getting baptized together. And
I love the picture. I'm gonna go upward now. I love the picture you said today. Imagine when we get to heaven and someone says, I became a Christian because of a box you packed. And so that's cool, because one day you'll get to meet the people who packed the box for you.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. And then I told you my to-be brother-in-law, he's Filipino, and he's just getting back from the Philippines, taking my sister-in-law over there to see everything and to experience that. And that's what I learned. You already mentioned it, was rice with every meal.
Yes.
And the other thing I learned was Spam. Do you eat Spam?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I think I've had Spam when I was younger. I don't remember, but he made it and it was good. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, we had to have rice at he brought his own rice. I do remember that. And I'm not much of a rice person, but I ate his rice. It was good.
Yeah. So when I first met my husband, I told him, It's like the meal is not a meal if there's no rice.
Yep.
So if you're just serving pizza or sandwich, just a snack. If you're just serving me a salad or whatever, that's a snack. It has to have rice. And so our house, we eat rice every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
And our friends in Kansas City knew that, like, if it's just pizza, this is a snack. I'm not eating that. It's just like
Yeah, we got a picture of they went to a McDonald's for breakfast while they were there, and there was rice on the plate, and I was like,
rice and chicken.
yep.
Yeah.
There was rice. Yep. Okay. So I'm glad that those aren't just fake pictures they sent us. You've confirmed confirmed a lot of things today. Boku pie, cracker nuts.
Yes.
We've had a lot of good conversation today. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking doing this. I'm nervous every time, but I really appreciate you talking with us and hanging out with us.
I was planning not to cry, so you did good.
I was planning not to also.
No, but
so thanks for that.
You did good. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for joining us today for this podcast. We look forward to seeing you this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. at First Baptist Church. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.